Morning. Well, we got a pretty big rain since the last video. I think we had 2 inches of rain yesterday. And so that means we've got some rain day jobs. One of those is, well, winterizing a pool. So last summer, Mrs. Brown talked me into putting an above ground pool in. And this part was not part of the deal. I thought they winterized themselves this whole time. I need you to get in there and get that thing out of it. Yeah, not bad for 2 people who didn't know what they were doing. So one of the things we're doing, we're actually having a wedding here, or not a wedding, we're having a reception here for my cousin Ben. So Ben is George's son. So a lot of you remember George, who's my uncle, used to help us. His son, my cousin, who basically grew up almost like my brother, as far as how close we are. His reception's at the shop. So Dad's starting to clean up some of the Kim totes and junk and whatnot, because that wedding's in, I don't know, 2 weeks, week and a half. So got a little bit of time today, might as well do that. And for only having this building for a couple years, it didn't take long to accumulate a pile of broken parts. Anybody remember this? That didn't even break here. We transplanted that junk. Maybe that's a good thing about having this reception. Makes us clean up a little bit. Like, I don't feel like this concrete rake is much good anymore. We need to take a trip to the junkyard. We got a bunch of stuff that needs hauled in. For those of you that ask, why do we have 2 red snouts on the combine? Here's the originals. Oh, look, a toad. Spare semi-tires. Yeah, I think the rest of this stuff's going to get chucked into the dump trailer and recycled, except for these. We have 96 gauge wheels for Horsch Avatar that are junk that I don't really know what to do with. Now we also got a little bit of mess under the dryer we're going to clean up. We're going to check some things over here at these bins, and then we're going to head over to the other grain bins and make sure everything looks all right over there. I haven't been over there since we got the big rain. A little bit of mess right here. Dryer's humming today. Well, never fun shoveling grain, but rather shovel it while it's not spoiled than after it spoils. It's really not fun then. All right, we're just getting over here to the soybean system. So if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that this older grain system could use some work. This is a system put in 1974 and 76, so it's been around a long time. It's held a lot of bushels of grain, and unfortunately most of these bins are just too little for a lot of things, but they're great for beans. And this year when we started our beans, They were extraordinarily dry for starting out. In fact, we held off a little bit, but some of our neighbors started a week before we did, before the first rain of this fall, and they were harvesting 6% beans. 6%, which is way drier than we want to be. In fact, you're losing quite a bit of money. I read somewhere on the internet, so it's got to be true, that when you go from harvesting 13% beans to harvesting 10% beans, you're losing $23 an acre, somewhere in that neighborhood. And of course, that's dependent on price and how you market your stuff. But the point is, you're losing a substantial amount of money. So, beans that we knew, beans were dry in the area. Our first beans that we harvested this year, we put into this grain bin here. We call it bin number 1. Not because it was the first built, because it's the first in line. But we put it there because we have a GSI grain view on that bin. I'll show you what that is right here. In fact, the reason I came over here was to check to make sure our fans are in automatic mode, which that's not in here, that's inside. Sometimes I'd lose my head if it wasn't attached. But basically this thing is controlling the fans on this bin. So with this system, our fans are kicking on automatically. I have an app, and in that app, I can set parameters. I can tell this thing how I want to treat the grain that's in here. So right now this bin's pretty full. It's probably 3/4 of the way full now. In the app, it'll actually tell me that. Trust that to a certain point. I wouldn't top your bins off with it. But I can rehydrate these beans, theoretically. That's the goal anyways. A lot of that's also weather dependent. But basically we can run those fans when it's highly humid or higher humidity and pump moisture into those beans and recapture some of that lost profit that we had during harvest. So I'm gonna go in here and make sure my switch is on automatic. Now, if you've never had a bin system with fans like that, you might be a little weirded out whenever them fans kick on sometimes. You might not think that you should have them on, but in our experience, it has worked. There she is. We are, in fact, in auto. So I'm gonna get on my app and we'll take a look at it, and I will screen record this and put it onto the video right here. So here you can see with my 3D map, we're, what is our percentage full? We can see our temperature, our moisture, we can get alerts, we can see the outdoor weather. The commodity right now is 89 degrees, 88 degrees, and it's 69 degrees outside. Fan is on. We're 66% full. So there you go. Here are our fan settings. So here you see we got it programmed. We want to try to get to a target of 13%. Here we go. We want to change it to rehydration. We were in a custom mode, and I don't think we want that. So we will change that to rehydration. As you can see here, we're getting a couple alerts, but we have that, so turn on. So now that configuration's been saved. So all this stuff's great. You do have to set it up though, otherwise you're not going to take full advantage of your stuff. So anyways, that's a little bit about the grain view. That's something that I would love to add to all the bins over here. We got 6 bins. We usually fill 5 of them with beans. I would love to do that with all those bins eventually. Problem is, some of these bins are pretty old. Some of the foundations aren't that great, and well, you kind of need to take advantage, in my opinion, a little bit better floor than what we got. That's one of the only bins over here with a false floor. That's why it's in that bin. But that is an upgrade that I would like to do at some point to these bins. And as you can tell by the age of these, it is something that is easily retrofittable. So inside of this bin, there's cables hanging down, which is what you've seen in that screen recording. They'll have a moisture sensor, or a sensor. I think it's every 2 feet all the way to the top. And that's how it's able to tell that. And then tell the temperature and the moisture. And then with that weather station right there on the side of the bin, we can you know, then compare that to the moisture outside, the ambient temperature, and see if we can rehydrate. Now, there's other things you can do with that, but rehydration in beans is usually what we're after. Ideally, we'd like to harvest beans when they're perfect moisture. Beans are finicky though, and that does not last very often. Typically, on a normal day at harvest, when we start it may be 13, and by the end of the day it may be 10. So there you're losing that $23 an acre, and with that system we're able to kind of bring that back up a little bit if we can. Well, now that we've got that done, we're gonna run over here and see what else needs cleaned up. So this is a rain day, so it's a nice rain day. It's drying out quickly, and we'll be back to harvesting tomorrow, but trying to get this shop a little tidied up.